Pastor Thomas Ravenell wants the young people to put down their guns, and he's starting that with his Stop the Violence Peace Tour that begins tonight in the Riverdale neighborhood of North Charleston. In this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups, I sit down with the pastor one-on-one, and be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. Mr. Ravenell!
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. I've heard great things about you over the years.
Thank you.
And you're welcome. And finally, I'm here to interview you for Quintin's Close-Ups.
Great. Glad to be here.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And let me start off with the obvious, because obviously, and we were supposed to do this at 5, but I moved it up early because I know you had to go run out there to do it. But it's the Stop the Violence Peace Tour.
Yes, sir.
Talk to me more about that and why this peace tour, why now in your mind?
Well, first again, let me say thank you
You're
for
welcome.
this opportunity.
Anytime.
Jonathan Thor, Shakim,
Right.
we call him,
Right.
called me one day with the idea of doing some peace rallies throughout the summer months. And I said, sure, let's do it. And then as I was watching something on television, and somebody was getting ready to go on tour, and I said, I got it. And I called Shakim, I said, hey, let's do a Stop the Violence Peace Tour. And this way, we can get our message out throughout the remainder of summer. And what we did, we came up with 5 neighborhoods, and we started today in Riverdale, and then we're gonna go for the remainder of the summer. But the peace tour is because our city, this past Sunday, we called this 28th murder. A lot of folks don't know that 22-year-old was gunned down this past Sunday. So what we have to do now, and me being a pastor, we have to do what Jesus did. And Jesus went where the masses of the people were, and that's in the streets.
Right.
And so we're coming together, we're going back in the streets. The people won't come to us, we're going to take our message to them. And simply, the peace tour is simply to say, Brother Quintin, is this: put the guns down. That's our theme. Conflict resolution. We were trying our best to work with the school board, hoping that they would adopt some type of gun violence conflict resolution course. We haven't been able to put it together. Again, great minds of Brother Shakim getting another idea.
Right.
And we just started putting pieces together, rolling with it. And that's our message. Put the guns down. That's all. Somebody have to walk away, because if we don't, what we saw happen in Chicago this past weekend, we're on path to accomplish that if we don't. So let's don't wait till this happens and then everybody's running around. What can we do? What we can do is this: let's get in the streets now, because that's where the shootings are happening. They're not happening in the church. They're not happening in the mosque or the temple. They're not happening on our jobs. Pretty much, they're happening in the streets, and that's where we need to be at. And that's why we got together, put our heads together, and we came up with the idea of doing the Stop the Violence Peace Tour.
And you talk about the Chicago shootings. Obviously, 13 are dead, 89 wounded on the July 4th weekend shootings. Where are you emotionally with that?
And let me go one step farther. 105 shot, 15 dead in Chicago. That's the latest. Right. Chicago, the black ministers are now coming together and calling Chicago and calling for a state of emergency. What we want to do is make sure that this don't happen here in Charleston. And I'm telling you, for the size of our city and 28 murders, Charleston is listed as one of the most dangerous cities in America. And a lot of folks don't know that. So what we have to do now is begin to go and educate the young brothers and let them know. And so when the 8 to 10-year-olds who are out there hear our message, we already planting seeds in them. The 18 to 25-year-old group, that's the group that's pretty much doing it. So we got to be able to say to them, let's come up with let's come up with a resolution. Let's come up with, I spoke at a rally they had this past Sunday, and I told the boys Sunday, I said, come up with some type of agreement within y'all to say, listen, here's what we're going to do. But what we're not going to do is we're not going to pull out a gun and shoot each other. If y'all got to come up with an agreement, one group work the morning shift, the other group work the night shift, we fine with that. But all we want is the violence to stop. And gun violence should be the #1 topic in every household in America today.
You talk about the people, well, really the people who are obviously doing the violence out on the streets, they're not coming to you guys. What in your mind says that's the reason?
Well, I think it's a lot of reasons. It's one, a lot of the gun violence relates back to the drug activity. We just want to be serious about it. Okay. So, and from a lot of what we get from off the streets, a lot of us retaliations and things of that nature. So that comes with, history shows that comes with the drug business. You're either gonna get shot, you're gonna get robbed, or you're going to jail. Those are just proven facts. Right. And that's some of the reasons why. But we just believing that this stuff is happening in the midnight hours, but then some of the shootings, just can happen at any time of day. Right. The masses of the people who are involved in this activity, they're out on the street corners. So then to get our message out, we have to go on the street corners. And that's why I say they're not, in a sense, not that they're not coming to us because they don't want to. It's just that, hell, this is where we are. This is our business. This is what we're doing. So then we have to then go out in the streets and say, hey, listen, brothers, there's another way. And if you don't drastically make some changes, here's where you're headed. You're headed either to jail or you're headed to the graveyard. And let me tell you something. After the shooting that happened in, I think it was in Virginia, where the guy shot at the Republican baseball practice, right. These folks are serious now. Just within 2 weeks, 2 young men, was an incident that happened sometime tied to a shooting in Park Circle. Right. Those guys went before the jury and was found guilty. One 23, and one I think was 31. Wow. They both were sentenced to 50 years in jail. Wow. So folks are serious, man. And the sad part about it is they're going to use us to set the example. Meaning brown and black boys that coming before these judges, they're going to get some harsh punishment because now everybody's crying, everybody's talking, everybody now is afraid. Just what happened Monday in the mall.
Northwoods Mall.
Perfect example. Again. You're going to have folks afraid to go in the mall. You have folks even afraid to come in any public outing because they're afraid of when is the next shootout going to be. So our message is, let's get out here. Let's get out here. Let's say to the young brothers, let's do something different now. Let's come up with some type, and again, Shakim can come up with a better peace, conflict, or some type of conflict resolution. Right. Let's come up with some other ways, man, to handle our peeps. Because right now, the only way we handle them is we're pulling out guns and we're killing our brothers.
Sadly. Let me stay with North Charleston. That is obviously the Northwoods Mall shooting happened right before 4th of July. Obviously, it was an isolated situation in which 2 gentlemen basically had an argument and it led to gunfire. Obviously, at first we heard that it was an active shooter situation. Obviously, that was debunked. Right. You just said that the public's, basically afraid to go to these places, if we hear continued violence like this. When you heard about the shooting at Northwoods Mall, where did your mind go to?
Honestly, for us, because we've been doing this so long, for me, another shooting. That's the first I said, another shooting. So I went to the mall. And I went live on Facebook from the mall trying to find out exactly what happened. And again, like you said, we found out that it was an active shooting. But again, first thing again is gun violence. We have more guns on the streets now than they ever did. Than 10 years ago. Here's what we have to do now. We have to challenge from the White House to Columbia to say, listen, we want a federal task force formed to locate and discover where these guns are coming from. With our days, if I went to a party early, we met and we shared the gun. And I remember we had a 22 and it had a broken handle, but when I went home, I would give it to my friend. Now, man, everywhere you go, there's a Glock and a 9mm. And now everybody has 2 guns in themselves. It's a perfect example. These guys were in the mall.
Right.
So they went packing. So what that tells me, I'm going to be packing because what? I know the other guy's packing. So everybody now is packing. And same thing that happened. The guy fired, or somebody fired, straight bullet, went in one of our stores.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. We have to now get serious in gun violence. We have to get serious about gun violence. And it can't just be a black issue, a white issue, because the bullet in the mall had no color. So it didn't make a difference when the bullet left the gun, where the lead went. So we have to get very serious. I think this has to become a conversation that we have to sit down, but folks have to be serious about it. And if they're not serious about it, no need to invite me to the table, because I ain't coming to be hoodwinked. Our message is clearly, the gun violence has to stop. But on the flip side of that, those who can make laws. We don't want tougher gun laws. We don't say we don't want tougher gun laws, but tougher gun laws again only will result in more brown and black men boys going to jail. What we want is somebody from the White House, I don't care who it is, or Columbia, McMaster, to say, listen, we're gonna put a task force together. If you bought 5,000 guns, you better be able to give an account for 5,000 guns. The gun makers, the gun dealers, whoever, who purchasing these guns, the gun shops, and we really don't care who it is. But what we're knowing is, because we've seen the guns on the streets, is that these are brand new Glocks and 9mm, never been used before. And that's the sad part about it, is that we know they're there, because we see them on a regular basis.
Okay. And obviously the day after, Elder James Johnson with National Action Network basically gave a challenge to North Charleston City Mayor Keith Summy, basically saying, hey, part of this could be the government. And I know Mayor Keith Summy says, hey, it's not the government's job to raise the kids. You actually agreed with the mayor.
Finally, we agreed on something.
Right.
That was my post.
And you said, go for it.
Let me, and again, I agree with the mayor, because he said it's not his place to raise our children. What the mayor said was, when he was 11, he had a summer job.
Right, he did.
Once again, going back again to what I say on a regular basis. And I don't want this to sound like we just out here for black men, but we're the one dying, we're the one going to jail. So our message is this: you have to raise. Every time you take a life, you leaving a son or a daughter without a parent, without a father. So then that leaves that young person open for somebody else to come and put a gun or put a package or put drugs in his hands. It's our responsibility to raise our seed. It's my responsibility. It was my responsibility to raise my 4 sons, and I did that. It's not the mayor's responsibility to say, hey, why is a 12-year-old boy in the street at 7 o'clock in the evening? It's not the, and I'm not here to defend the mayor either now. But it's not the mayor's responsibility. It's ours, because once again, these are our young brothers in the street. Who took the first lead to say, let's go out in the street? Shakira. So younger black men, they want to see other black men come to their rescue. And we're going to their rescue and we say, hey man, here's something different. I'm willing to work with you. So that's why I'm saying it's our responsibility to raise our sons and daughters.
What is the other secret? I mean, when I was growing up, we had the violence, but we were disciplined the old school way.
Exactly.
What is the difference between the old school discipline and this really realm of discipline in your mind?
The parents now are 25, and the little boy is 12,
right,
and he has a brother 7. And she's trying to hold it together best as she can. So she's trying to work. Yeah. She's trying to keep the house together. But at the same time, she can't do it all. She can't work and only making $8 an hour. And then she can't provide for those 2 kids. So therefore, she goes to work. The kids are at home. As they grow up, the little boy 12 turned into 16. Now he thinks he's a man. For years, all he did, look out the window. He watched BET. He watched the bigger boys. in the drug trade. So the parents are getting much younger.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And my mother raised, I think 7 of us, and we had I still remember the belt she had, and I remember the broomstick. Now, we never got the stitcher car, but I remember the belt and I remember the broomstick.
Right.
And when my mama came from work, tired, you better be in the yard. Now my brother, I'm going to say, always left the yard, but he can tell you he got he put his hand up one time and that finger got broken. You follow me? Ooh. So the parents are much younger.
Yeah,
again, that is why the need is there for other men like myself, like Brother Shakim, like Brother Jesse, like Omar,
right.
For other brothers who are saying, you know what, we're just tired of seeing it. Listen, we are guilty of being a part of the past, and we helped mess the city up years ago. So now it's our responsibility to come back and say, let's clean up, or let's try to help clean up some of this mess that we've caused.
Let me stop you there. You
Yes,
said
sir.
you guys were part of the problem in
Yes,
the
sir.
past.
Yes, sir.
Who else's fault is it in your mind?
Well, again, you always have to blame some on, as we say, society or the government, because a lot of the stuff we know is set by design. We understand that. We understand if you have a family in a house, and what's happening now is that it's designed because the jobs are going, the schools are closing down, the education system is failing our kids. So if you have a family of 4 in a house, that father's going to do everything in his power to take care of his family. But once you begin to pull away some of the resources from that family, then everybody becomes what? All for themselves. And that's what we're seeing in our communities every day. So the jobs are going, so there's limited resources. So the guys out on the streets are saying, look, I got to grab whatever I can grab. We have to blame a lot on society because, again, a lot of it is set by design. We understand that. I had this conversation briefly back and forth with a brother. But at the end of the day, I still say this. It is my responsibility to be the priest, provider, and protector of my home. So no matter what I have to do to raise those 2 boys of mine, if I got to go to work to McDonald's and get off from McDonald's and go to Burger King and get off from Burger King, go back to McDonald's, I do that. But if I end up on the street corner, chances are I'm going to jail or I'm gonna be shot. So then, if either one happens or killed, if either one happens, then what happens to my family? There's no structure anymore because I'm missing from the home. And the parents today are a lot younger than they were 25 years ago.
Yes. You talk about education and how that system is failing most of the kids. Let me take you down to 75 Calhoun Street, which is really a block away.
Yes, sir.
I know that you've had some issues with that particular school district and the school board.
Yes, sir.
Describe to me the Charleston County School Board in one word.
Man, I got so many words I try to use. Okay. One word. Honestly, one word don't even come to my mind right now. You know, my issue is not with the entire school board. There are some there who are hands-on, who are trying. Again, at the end of the day, we're playing politics with our kids' education. And that's one issue that we really have with the school district. Because listen, you got some of the school, every school in North Charleston, predominantly black, they're failing. North Charleston Elementary, Mary Ford, Shakora, Burns, they're failing the kids, they're failing. And they're passing the kids on just to pass them on to the next grade. What good does it, what good does it do to anybody, the Bullers, brand new school, but you're putting the same kids in the new school? So again, my thing is, I think, you know, again, it's the cheap politics. And again, listen, folks for some reason seem to forget the school to prison pipeline. And they're training our kids to end up in penitentiary because the education is pathetic. Kids are not learning. And you got a teacher in the classroom you got a young teacher in the classroom with 25 kids that come out of let's say a low poverty, high poverty area. Those kids, chances are those kids are not prepared for school. So if I'm going to, again, we talk about if the little boy is 10 and he's going to bed 10 o'clock at night, obviously he can't be up and be ready for school 6:30 next morning when school starts at 7. So again, I think the school system takes some of the blame. But again, everything again goes back to the family. But you can't expect a mother to do but so much. And that is, again, everything revolves right back again to why we're hitting the streets and saying to the brothers, if you don't get it together, this continues to happen at the expense of our children. The school to prison pipeline is real. When kids are being expelled from school at an all-time high, where do they go? Straight to the street corners. From the street corners, where do they go? Jail or they dead. That's a proven fact. So the school system has to take part out of what we've seen in society today, because again, they expel kids at all-time high. And that is an issue we really have, not just with Charleston County School, well, most of the Charleston County School District, most of what we do is in North Charleston and Charleston County. So that's an issue we do have with the school board. I think at the end of the day, it's a lot of politics. It's a lot of behind-the-scenes maneuvering. Folks are being pretty much told what to do, how to vote. And if you look at their voting record, I mean, when it comes to education, this school board here gets a failing grade from me. Now I won't give every member a failing grade, because there are some who we reached out to and have really tried, and it's really sincere, but it's just not the majority.
I mentioned that I've known you for many years,
yeah.
And a lot of people sitting here watching this particular Quintin's Close-Ups interview might be asking, who is Thomas Ravenell? Who is Pastor Thomas Ravenell?
Well, I'm not the former state treasurer.
Right. I know who he is. I've interviewed him plenty of times.
Hey man, I'm ready from born and raised North Charleston, raised up in a neighborhood called 10 Mile.
Right.
Graduated Stall High School. Right. I've worked for ILA 1422A in the maintenance local for many years. I've worked also, and I do volunteer with the Ninth Circuit Solicitor Office. I am an arbitrator with the arbitration program,
sure.
which entitles me to work with children. I'm a father, right, and a grandfather, right, an uncle, pastor, senior pastor of the Empowerment Baptist Church in North Charleston, where I founded it and started it 7 years ago. I've been on the scenes. I'm not a camera hole. Okay. I've been on the scenes. I've been right there. I was very instrumental when the Asbury Wilder right. shooting took place years ago. I was very instrumental in helping to bring Reverend Jackson here for about 2
right.
weeks. I was right there again when they took the dogs in Stratford right. High School. I was right there. I've been on the streets. I was right there doing Walter Scott. Right. Doing the Emmanuel 9 was right. one of the first ones on the scene. We spent the entire night there. So I'm just a local from right here, the city of North Charleston. God have given me a mandate, and Matthew 25 says that at Matthew 25 says that He's going to ask the question: whatever you do for the least of your brothers, you do unto me. So that's why I'm instrumental. I've always been in the streets. Always been in the streets. March all. I've been to the January 6th march. I've been right. to the first Obama inauguration. Right. I had a chance to march all across the country with different people. I've been in the labor movement for a long time. So that's pretty much who I am. Again, I'm just what I can't be bought, and I'm not going crying and begging for something that I don't need. You just can't offer me something, and that's going to silence me. Okay. I'm on a mission from God to do His assignment, and that's what I'm here to do.
Let me back up. You just said Emmanuel 9. Obviously, we just commemorated the victims as well as the people that actually perished. And meaning the Emmanuel 9, we still have those survivors.
Yes.
When you look back at 2 years later, about 2 years ago to 2 years now, where are you emotionally still 2 years later?
Me, I'm still where I was then. I haven't healed at all, and I haven't healed. I was there that night right. when I got the call, and we spent the entire night there. We had prayer every hour, 1 hour. I'm still to a point of where, I ask myself, how could a person be that hateful to go into a place of worship and sit and then act afterwards in a place of worship? So I haven't grown at all since it. I haven't gotten over that night, the phone call. The following year, I went back to the service there at 9:05 when I think the first call came in. Yeah. And so I sat into the service that night, and then of course this year I was there. We were out there that night this year. I think just talking and reminiscing. It was about 30 of us out there that night, just talking and reminiscing about the previous 2 years. But for me, man, it's going to take me a long time to digest it. And I go on record as saying, because I took a great hit and I lost some friends on social media, but I went on record and saying, and I still say to today, I have not and will not forgive the other one. Ruth, whatever his name was.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, I don't want to even mention his name.
Right.
But then you are a Christian.
That's right.
You're supposed to forgive no matter what.
That's right. That's right.
Why are you?
That's right. Has he ever asked for forgiveness? No. And if he asks me, I still won't forgive him. And I think he deserves everything that's coming to him.
Well, Pastor Thomas Ravenell, I thank you so much for this interview.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me, man.
Yo, anytime.
Let me say one thing before we finish.
Please
I want to say one thing. I want to get back to our peace, Stop the Violence Peace Tour. I want to get this up here.
Sure.
We're going to have this. This is our pledge.
Okay.
And we're going to put this in the hands of every young person that we come in contact with. And it simply says, I will never bring a gun to school. I pledge I will never bring a gun to school. Okay. I pledge I will never use a gun to settle a personal problem or dispute. And it says, I pledge I will use my influence with my friends to keep them from using guns to settle disputes. This is a pledge that we're going to have for our entire tour. And we're going to be out every Thursday. Today in Russellville at 6:30. Right. Next Thursday we're in Shakur, Cherokee. Right. The following Thursday we're going to be on. We're going to be at Ferndale at Harvest Point Church. So we'll be out for the next 5 weeks for sure, and then we'll pick up after the second week in August, and we'll have this pledge and giving this pledge and getting our kids to sign this pledge and taking it home and placing it on their refrigerator or placing it somewhere where they can look at it every single day, and hopefully again they'll think. Before they use a gun to settle any type of dispute.
One last question.
Yes, sir.
Write the headline for me.
Yes, sir.
The Peace Tour. The Peace Tour.
Yes, sir.
Stop the Violence Peace Tour.
Yes, sir.
At the end of the Stop the Violence Peace Tour, you hope people will do what?
Put the guns down. That's it. That's all we're asking them to do. Put the guns down. We don't ask them to do nothing else. That is our theme. Put the guns down. That's all we want them to do. Listen, people got to remember, we have to stop handguns before they stop us. And in doing so, all we have to do is say, you know what? We're going to come up with a group. We're going to put our guns down. All we want to see, when we finish this tour at the end of summer, and we look back, and then when we look back, and then when we run into guys, that's what we'll find out later, and say, hey man, because we always get those guys who come back and say, hey, because y'all came. We've stopped a retaliation in the process, and we showed up in time, and the brother told us, he said, if y'all didn't come, we were headed back down there. But because y'all asked us, we won't. When we run into guys later, and we see guys, we see them in funerals, we see them in church, we see them out in the street, man. And they say, hey man, because of you, man, I don't tote no gun no more. That's when we'll know it's been successful. And then what do? We pick up and we keep going, and we keep going, and we keep going. All we want to hear is one person say, because of you, man, I put my gun down. And that's the gun that might have been used to kill your son, your daughter, my son, my daughter. But that one brother saw our pledge, or he heard him. He was at one of our rallies, and he said, "Man, because I heard Shakim talk,
Right.
because I heard Omar Ford talk, my gun days are over." And we're not telling them to do nothing else. Just put the guns down, man. Because if you're already on the block hustling, and then you fire a gun, the police come. But ain't nobody making no money. So you did yourself a disservice by just firing the gun. So we can just get one brother at every rally to leave and say, my God days are over. I'm going to Burger King. I'm going to work the Sonics. I'm going to work the Sonics and work on my GED at night. I'm going to do something better for myself. Because at the end of the day, all we want these brothers to know is that when you're missing, who's here to protect your offspring? And that's it.
Pastor Thomas Ravenell, thank you once again. I really appreciate this.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me too, man.
Anytime.
All right, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man.